Hi, we're back. We're trying today to figure out how is it we're going to be using Google Docs. Google Docs is really something that serves the same function as a lot of those Microsoft applications that you've been used to, all the Microsoft Office suite programs, things like Word, Office, PowerPoint. Now you can use special features in Office to actually share documents back and forth, but for a very quick and easy application, we like to use Google to share documents pretty quickly, and you can actually see things changing almost on the fly. So there's a lot of different things that you can do within Google that you can do within Microsoft. Fortunately, it's free, it's fast, and we all have Google accounts, so we can share things simultaneously. So how are we going to get there? Well, the first thing you got to do is get to the school website, berkshire-school.org, and up top, log in just like you'd be logging in to say go to your Moodle account. I'm going to log in with my address and get to just the same place I'd be going to check my email. I'm sure you know how to do that by now. We're actually going to click on the same link. We're going to go to Gmail because that'll get us into our Google account directly. So we click on Gmail, it opens up a new tab, and it's going to log me into my mail. Look at that, organized mail, only one new message. Well, it's not actually the mail we're interested in. What we want to do is come up to the very top series of tabs and get to where it says Documents. That's Google Docs right there. So I'm going to click on Documents, and that's going to get me to the page we finally want to be. A few steps to jump through, but pretty short and sweet. So here we are. Now we're at Google Docs. And you can see I've already have a few docs created. The first thing we want to do today is just figure out how is it that you go about creating a document. So that's the first step. Obviously, creating a new document, you just look on the top left of your screen, right here, Create New. You're going to have a few choices. A Microsoft Word, say you're writing an essay for class. That's just a document. That's what the equivalent in Microsoft Office. Word is a Google document. The equivalent of a PowerPoint in Microsoft Office is presentation. And the equivalent of, say, a spreadsheet in Google Docs would be like using Microsoft Excel. And there's a few other features you can play around with. You can generate forms if you want to collect group data. You can also just draw yourself an image if you wanted to come up with something if you didn't feel like using Photoshop or Microsoft Paint. A collection we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. But for the very basics, let's imagine we're going to create a Google document. So we click Document. Right away you'll notice that it's not saved and it's not titled. So you want to click up here and click on that so that we can re-enter a new name. Let's call this my first history essay. And we can begin, and you'll notice that a lot of the same features function just like Microsoft Word. If you need to put a title in there, it could be, again, my first history essay. Not a great title, but we can get started with that. We can put that in there and start typing away. And it enters just the same. If you want to bold something, you can go up and bold it just like in Microsoft Word. If you want to center it, just like that. And a lot of the shortcut keys act just the same in Google Docs like they would in Microsoft Word. For example, if you hit Control-U, and I'm going to do that on my keyboard right now, it underlines. If you hit Control-U again, it undoes the underline function. You could even undo the bold function by clicking Control-B. So a lot of the quick keys work just the same. It's pretty similar to Microsoft Word. It's sort of a stripped down version, but the power in this isn't that this is where you should necessarily be creating your essays. It's more that if you want to collaborate with a student or more than one kid and you want to start writing a group essay or a group document, maybe there's an outline you have for a class that you'd like to prepare, maybe you're preparing a review sheet for all of your class, or even perhaps you're writing an essay to the school. You want to save it and share it to the school. This is an easy way of doing that rather than sending out attachments. So this is just the basic idea of how you go about writing things out. We've got this saved, and you can see right here it's already been automatically saved, and that's great. The reason why we have to make sure we title these things is that it does automatically save. And this was a new tab that we opened when we clicked on creating a new document. I'm going to go back one tab to where the home page was for the Google Docs application. And you see right there this has been added now, my first history essay. And you can see this icon is indicating that it's actually a document. That's great. We can do the same thing for other types of documents. Again, you'd click on Create New. Perhaps this time we want to do a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets, that's the Microsoft Excel equivalent. When it opens up, you're going to see that a lot of the cells are going to function in a very similar manner. It doesn't look exactly like Microsoft Excel, but it's got a lot of the same features. Perhaps you want to type in and compare two factors. We could set up something like an XY scatter plot. And we could say, well, number of ice cream cones, and we could say relative happiness. We could say 1 is low, and 10 is high. And we could go around and we could survey people. Maybe the one person had 2 ice cream cones, another person had 1, another person had 6. That might have been my advisees. And we could have looked at that and said, well, how happy were they when they had 2 ice cream cones? So they're pretty happy. Maybe they had a 5. 1 ice cream cone, that wasn't too much ice cream. Maybe it was a 3. Somebody had 6 ice cream cones. That could have been like way up there. Maybe they were an 8.5. Then maybe somebody went to the extreme and they had an ice cream eating contest and they ate 12 ice cream cones. You asked them, what do you think? How happy are you? Well, they said they were a 1 because, well, that's just too much ice cream. So here we go. You can use a spreadsheet. Notice here it hasn't automatically saved yet. You want to do that. You want to save it. But what did I forget to do? I didn't give it a title. So again, to do that, you click over on the left side. We're going to make sure we name this something like Ice Cream Study. Click OK. There it goes. It saved that automatically. And again, when I go back into this Home tab, I'm going to see now that that document will be saved here. And there we go, just like that, Ice Cream Study. Okay, so that's how you're going to go about creating different types of documents. The same thing applies for creating a presentation and a few other things that Google Docs can do. But here's what we want to do next. I've got a lot of different documents, old ones that I've created, and it starts to get pretty messy. And these are just things that have happened today, things that have happened in the month, things that happened in the year. Well, one of the things we need to do is try to organize this a little bit better. One of the things you can do from the Google homepage is actually create, it doesn't seem that intuitive, but to create something else. And you're going to create something called a collection. It's basically the equivalent of creating a new folder. So we're going to create a collection, and we're going to title this perhaps History Homework, or if it's not even homework, just everything you do with history class. Maybe that's the easiest thing to do. So history class. So now I have a collection, and nothing's in there. Well, the point is that you have to go back to the Home tab and actually collect the things you want for history class. Don't actually click on history class. That's just the folder. But perhaps the ice cream study was done in your history class. Your history essay was certainly done there. What we want to do after we've checked the two is either drag them in directly or just right-click and hit Organize. When we do that, you're going to see this option of history class. That's the folder we just created. That's what we want to apply them as. And you see right there, they're now tagged in with this folder as a collection. A collection really is the thing that's functioning as a folder in this case. One last thing to do. They're still there. They're still sort of messy and they're still in the way. One of the things you can do is right-click. So I'm going to do that now. Right-click, and you'll notice up here it says Don't Show in Home. What that's going to do is it's just going to clear it out from the home page so you don't have to stare at it every time you start with Google Docs. Once that's done, it disappears. It hasn't been deleted. All you have to do now is look to the collection that you've created. I have a separate collection going for the dorm duties, but here's the history class folder or collection that we've been doing. When you click on that, you can see there's those 2 original documents. And even if I closed the 2 that I had just created, when we do click on them again, it's going to open up a new tab, and there's the essay. So nothing happens to the essay. We've just moved it around a little bit. That's the way you're going to try to organize your things. All right, on to the next thing. Now we got to figure out what's the whole point of this. Well, I could have just been using Microsoft Word. Well, it's the sharing feature. And to use Google Docs, since everybody at this school has a Google account, and we're all on the same platform, it's very quick. You don't even have to memorize all the different email addresses, as long as you remember the name of the student or the teacher that you're working with. So this is perhaps one where you've got an essay. Maybe that's not a great example, but we could still go with this, that we're going to share this essay. Maybe I have to send this essay to my teacher. Maybe they can help me edit it. Maybe I'm going to send it to a peer, and they can help me edit it that way. I'm going to click Share. So there's going to be a few ideas that you could do it with. Well, since I'm the one that created it, you'll notice that I'm set up as the owner. And when you set up any document that you've logged into your Google account, you're going to be the owner too. But perhaps I want to share it with somebody that's a peer of mine. Why not share it with my wife? She's an English teacher. I'm sure she can critique my essay and really help me out. So I'm going to type in my wife's name. So we start with the first name, and you can see automatically that there's a list that's starting to get developed. Getting closer. It's not Janet. It's not Jack. I know it starts with a J-A-C. What's my wife's name? Oh yeah, it's Jackie. So here we go, Jackie O'Rourke. That's her. I'm going to click on her name, and I'm going to allow her to edit it. If you want, you can have it just to be viewed. This might be a document that you don't want anybody to make changes to, just for them to view it. But in this case, I'm asking for my wife's input. She certainly should be able to edit it. And the great thing is, they're not going to send you a new attachment back. You're just going to get an email that says, as you see here, notify people via email. You're just going to get an email back when something has changed. If you want to customize it and say something like, thanks very much for helping me with my essay, great. You don't have to, but that's one way to do it. When we click share and save, Jackie's now going to get an email at this address. Make sure that when you are trying to do this, that you're communicating to each other, that you're sending it to your Berkshire School addresses. You can send things to outside Berkshire School addresses, but it's just quicker to do it this way. And that's really it. If I was to show you and log on to Jackie's email, she would have an email from me asking her to join a group with Google Docs. She'd then open up this document, start editing it, and I get an email back when she's done as well. That's the basic idea of sharing different documents. A really powerful piece, and just to close out of this for a second, is if we were to open up a spreadsheet, and you're going to get this in a lot of your different classes, if you have more than one person in a lab group, because you usually do, you don't have to sit there and have one person do all the work. You can divide up the work, and you can enter data simultaneously on different computers. But if you're logged into and share the same document, it'll constantly be updating and refreshing itself. And it's pretty neat to see. I can't give you a demonstration of that with just one computer, but I can show you that in class, or you can ask your teacher to show you how that can be applied. But as long as you've shared the document with each other, you all have access to it, and you all have permission to write on it simultaneously. It helps speed things up. That's really one of the points of using Google Docs. You collaborate, you work together, and one person's not stuck with all of the work. That's the basic idea behind sharing. We've now been able to create, we've been able to organize, and we've shared documents. That's going to be it for now with Google Docs. There's lots more to talk about, but that'll get you started. Good luck, and as always, ask your teachers or ask me if you have any questions.